hope you guys are all enjoying today and are with family, maybe some friends. Christmas is such a fun time. I love Christmas Eve because I don't know what you guys do, but typically in a non-pandemic year, we get to go over to our grandma's house and lots of family and friends come over and we get to spend the holiday with them. A little different this year, but next year we'll be back at it better than ever, right? But guess who comes tonight? Unless you're on the naughty list. But maybe. Who's coming? Is Santa Claus coming tonight? Oh my gosh. What did you guys ask for? I asked for a pair of socks, a new shirt. That's what you asked for too? Just kidding. I bet you guys asked for maybe some cool toys or maybe ask for a cool shirt too. That would be awesome. But I just want to warn you guys, don't get any funny ideas and don't build a Santa trap. This book is called The Santa Trap, and it is my all-time, it's so my favorite book. It's one of my favorite Christmas books, favorite silly Christmas books. How's that? But you also know how I am with all my books. I just love them all. And this one is by Jonathan Emmett, and the pictures by Polly Bernayton. The illustrator has done just such a great job bringing this story to life, and it is with permission from Peach Tree Publishers that we get to read my favorite book. And after we read this, you guys might second guess, if any of you guys have any plans of staying up late to try to catch that, jolly guy. I would suggest you don't. Bradley Bartleby was bad. He'd been born bad. Before baby Bradley even left the hospital, he'd bitten the midwife on the bottom, stolen the doctor's stethoscope, and emptied his diaper into his grandmother's handbag. And the older Bradley got, the badder he became. Bradley's parents were immensely rich. They had a huge house with a garden that was big enough to lose an elephant in. They knew that the garden was big enough to lose an elephant in because they'd done exactly that. Bradley had demanded the elephant as a house pet, but treated it so badly that it escaped into the garden and was never seen from again. Bradley's parents always gave him whatever he demanded, not because they thought he deserved it, but because they were terrified of him. Every Christmas, Mr. Bartleby hired a team of secretaries to type up the huge list of presents that this greedy son demanded from Santa Claus. Of course, Santa knew what a beastly brat Bradley was, so he never looked at the list. But that didn't mean that he forgot about Bradley completely. Santa is such a kind-hearted old fella that he believes no child, not even one as bad as Bradley, should go without a Christmas present. So every Christmas morning, Bradley would discover that Santa had left him the same small gift. Socks! Howled Bradley. Another pair of stupid socks! Never mind, Bradley dear, cried Mr. and Mrs. Bartleby as they rushed in with a trolley load of presents. Look, Mommy and Daddy got you everything you wanted. But I don't want presents from you, roared Bradley. I want presents from Santa Claus, like everyone else. And he stormed back to his room. The next morning, Mr. and Mrs. Bartleby were alarmed to discover that their son had climbed up inside the living room chimney. They were even more alarmed to discover that Bradley had nailed several sticks of dynamite around the chimney walls. What are you doing, dear? Asked Mrs. Bartleby nervously. What does it look like? Scowled Bradley. I'm building a trap. A trap? Said Mr. Bartleby. A trap for what? For Santa Claus. snarled Bradley. "I'm going to catch that fat fool and take every present he's got." Mr. and Mrs. Bartleby were speechless. In a lifetime of badness, this was quite the baddest thing that Bradley had tried to do. Mr. Bartleby was the first to come to his senses. It isn't a little too early to setting a trap?" he gasped. "It'll be a whole year before Santa comes again." "Oh, this is just the beginning," scoffed Bradley. "It'll take a year to finish it all." And he was right. Bradley spent the rest of the winter fixing dynamite inside the other chimneys, and the spring training tigers, which he stole from the local zoo. He spent the summer fitting guillotines over the doors and windows, and the autumn cutting trap doors into all the floors. By the time December came around again, Bradley had turned the entire house into one stupendous Santa trap. Look at all of that craziness. "One last thing," said Bradley as he hung his stockings beside the fireplace. He was certain that Santa wouldn't make it that far, but just to make sure, he tied an invisible tripwire to the stocking. The moment anyone touched it, a large metal cage would drop down from above. "No more stupid socks," thought Bradley. "This Christmas, I'll get exactly what I want. This Christmas, I will get the whole lot." But as the evening grew darker, Bradley's eyelids grew heavier. His evil efforts had left him quite exhausted, and soon he fell fast asleep. It was almost midnight when Bradley was awakened by the roar of an angry tiger, whose tail had just been stepped on by an elephant. The house had grown chilly, and when he looked outside, Bradley was surprised to find a garden covered in a thick blanket of snow. Shivering with cold, Bradley decided to light a fire. It was only when the flames began to lick up the chimney that Bradley remembered the dynamite. Boom! Yow! The explosion blew Bradley right through the living room window and out into the rose bushes below. Cursing loudly, Bradley struggled free of the thorny stems. He had barely caught his breath when 6 sleek, stripy shapes came bounding toward him out of the snow. Nice kitties, squealed Bradley as he fled back through the rose bushes with the tigers snapping at his heels. The tigers chased Bradley around the garden twice before he was able to lose them by diving into a heap of fresh elephant dung. Do you know what dung is? It's poop. And crept back to the house. Determined not to be caught in any more of his own traps, Bradley took a deep breath and prepared himself before opening the front door. "Ah!" he cried triumphantly as he leapt clear of the falling guillotine. "Ah!" he cried miserably as he fell through the trap door. Sometime later, as the sun rose on Christmas morning, a scratched, scraped, and badly bruised Bradley limped back to the living room. There wasn't much of the fireplace left, but amazingly, his stocking was still hanging up. And even more amazingly, Bradley could see that there was something inside. Bradley hobbled over, tore down the stocking, and clang! Bradley let out a long sigh. He knew that he was beaten, so he slumped down inside the cage and emptied his stocking onto the floor. For the first time ever, Santa had left Bradley more than one present. There was a big box of bandages, a large jar of antiseptic, and a nice new pair of socks. It was my favorite story, you guys. The end. Oh my gosh, I just love that. That silly Bradley. He was such a naughty boy, but yet still Santa brought him some presents, huh? That's pretty cool. Well, boys and girls, I hope you are enjoying a very Merry Christmas. Have a great time off from school. Happy holidays. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas.